Ow!
I kind of just trusted the expert. This wake-up call happened, and then all of a sudden I was like, and in order to figure out your heart and soul, you have to be willing to go places that nobody else can understand. And you have to be willing to go places I think even the church can't follow or give you advice as far as where to go. I don't know if I'm comfortable putting all my faith into a building if I just show up one day and all of a sudden it's closed and it's not there anymore. You're telling me to take the severance. I'm the one who's got to pay the bills. And now you're telling me, let's take that and just go move to Cambodia. Yeah, she was just like, let's just go move to Cambodia. And I'm like, what? The wake-up call. If you haven't got one yet, you're gonna get one. It was the biggest wake-up call of my life. And I was working for a company, very big company. I was crushing it. Was doing very good. I was close to being about 10 years in, not quite there yet. Then all of a sudden COVID hits. Was in an industry that got hit very, very hard. That was the beverage, alcohol, distribution industry. And I got hit really hard. We got the phone call one day saying that, stay at home. We're trying to figure this out. The weeks turned into months, sort of a deal. And then all of a sudden, after we were, months and months in of not going back to work, got the invite for a call. The good old, like the conference calls, like, you got to click the phone on. You got that cheesy music, like, I knew what was coming. I knew it. I didn't believe it, but I kind of knew it. We were living in an apartment, and it was me and my wife, and my oldest son was 4 at the time, and we just had a newborn with us, 2-year-old. Well, I guess that's not a newborn. I guess 2 years newborn. And I saw this call and I was just like, oh man, I need to go into the spare bedroom. We had 2 bedrooms, right? It was an older apartment. But anyway, I went into the second bedroom, shut the door, put the phone on, and I just stared out the window. And it was super creepy because where we live, there's beautiful mountains, skiing, all this stuff. And I mean, usually it's just like people are always out doing their thing. And I just looked out my window and it was a beautiful day. I wanted to be outside. And like the parking lot was full, and it was never full at that time because everybody was home from work. Everything was shut down. I mean, you couldn't even put in a pickup delivery from Walmart. You couldn't even get to Walmart. I mean, gosh, that's when you know things are bad. But they're essential. I, on the other hand, was not essential. So I'm sitting there and my little guy's just banging on the door. He thinks it's like a game, hide and seek. He's like, let me in, let me in. I'm like, no, you can't. The call happens, and it was one of those where, like, if you're getting this call, then HR is going to be reaching out to you and, pretty much you're just no longer needed, in a very nice way. So I handled that, and, HR called me personally because, everybody was with different amounts of time with the company. And there was a lot to do with that based on like severances. And, they gave me a choice. They were very nice, at least to me. They gave me a choice. And the choice was either a severance or I could take a demotion, go back to the position I was in like 3 or 4 years ago that I hated, that I couldn't wait to get out of. And that's why I worked so hard and did so good, just so I can get out of that position. And of course, cut and pay. Now I looked at both those decisions, and I weighed them, and I saw the path that if I went back would lead me to. Now, it was the no-brainer solution for most people, right? Bills are starting to pile up, stimulus checks are going to be running out. What do? I got 2 kids, my wife's not working. I'm the one who's like literally in charge of like everything going on financially. And what do? They gave me a few days to think about it, and I weighed that decision over very heavily. For me, I was at the point in the industry where I was kind of outgrowing my position anyway, and I was in a small market, which I love small markets. I don't like big markets. I don't want to live in a city. I would rather see tractors driving down the road than fancy Range Rovers any day of the week honking at people. I don't need that. Either way, I was going to have to move. But the thought of losing a job during COVID, when there was no end in sight to like when this was going to blow over, was like paralyzing, right? I mean, the fear that's involved with that, you know what I mean? Like going, oh my gosh, I got to pay these bills. I need a job. And now all of a sudden, to cut yourself from the company throws you into a talent pool now with millions of other people that just got that same phone call. And now we're all overqualified, trying to fight for whatever positions are available or trying to switch industries. It was a very, very like stressful time. I'm sure you guys can all relate with that. I mean, we all had to go through it. We all might have been at different stages. You might have been a person that actually was working for a company that maybe did really well during COVID, or vice versa, like me, that got shut down. So it was tough. And it was, man, it's like, I'm trying to butter up my resume, and I'm like, golly, tweaking it and doing all this, and trying to pretend like I had the experience for that job and relate the skills. You know how you got to do that? You got to like bend it a little bit. I talked to my wife about that. The decision for her was so easy. Like, she saw something in me that I knew I had, but I never really had it. We've been together for like 5 years at this point. So it was like, you kind of start to know the other person. And I think she saw something in me that I just couldn't see in myself. And I was scared to see it in me, but I knew what I had to do. Like, deep down, it's hard for me to admit it, but I was happy that I was in this position. And I knew the answer that I had to give. I was always too afraid to do it on my own, because when things are going good and you're getting promoted and you're moving your way up and you start getting the bigger paychecks, and then you can finally move out of the apartment and you're looking at houses, new cars, all that stuff, and it really just starts to compound really fast, right? Every couple years, promotion, you go, wow, this is actually pretty good. It might not be what you want to do, but everything else starts to outweigh that, and you lose track of kind of the dreams you maybe had as a kid or what you really wanted to do, right? I kind of reached that point where it was like, man, I know that there's something out there for me. I just don't know what the hell it is. Like, all those wasted prayers to God, like, God, if there's one thing, just give it to me. Just give it to me. Just let me wake up and find it. I don't care what it is. I just want to do something that I know when I look back on my life, I actually went to work and came home. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but it was like, something I could be like, oh, wow, I was satisfied with what I did that day, because you can find ways to justify everything. You could always find a way to justify the worst job in the world if you don't want it, or if it's not for you, or you're doing something that, inside's like, no, I think you should be doing something like this, but in order to get that, you got to give this up. And where do you go, right? You give up the safety and the security, you go out into the unknown. Now things get really weird, man. It's tough out there. It's so nice by the fire here. And me and my wife talked about that, and we were like, she was just like, just take the severance. And I'm just like, what? Like, do you want to talk about this? She's like, no, just take the severance. And I'm like, wow, that was easy. Where'd that come from? And it wasn't a big severance by any means. I mean, trust me, I wish I was on Wall Street like my friends, maybe working for these big banks. I mean, yeah, their severances, if they took one or even decided to, were probably huge. I could probably buy a house with those severance. Me, I bought myself maybe a few months to kind of kick and scrape around for a little bit and pray that I could find a job within 2 or 3 months, which was probably going to realistically take 6 months, just for how everything was kind of lining up. And because my wife is Cambodian, I met her in Cambodia. Yeah, she was just like, let's just go move to Cambodia. And I'm like, what? Hold on, I need a second here. You're telling me to take the severance. I'm the one who's got to pay the bills. And now you're telling me, let's take that and just go move to Cambodia. Now, in my 20s, even in my early 30s, I thought, hell yeah, Cambodia, I love Cambodia. Tropical weather, white sand beaches, crystal clear water, cold beers that are like 25 cents. I'm in all day. Fresh seafood right out of the ocean. Sign me up. But now the kids are involved and the family's involved, and it's like, whoa, time out. Let me think about this. She was like, no, you don't need to think about it. Let's just go. So I'm like, that's why I married you, woman, because you always get the best of me. So I went in, I took the severance. And like I said, this wasn't a big severance, but it was big enough to buy us some time. And since we were using it to go to Cambodia, it would buy us even more time because the cost of living over there is just so much cheaper. We moved the family to Cambodia. We went in a little bit of a holding pattern because we couldn't get into the country because it was on lockdown. So we had to put some time in, wait a little bit, and then we went. We made a break for it. I put some money away in the 401ks. I had the severance. I had a little bit of savings. We were trying to start saving up for a house. And we went over to Cambodia and lost it all. Yeah. One year turned into two turned into three. And wow, we got into some stuff that I didn't think could ever happen. Sorry, Dad. I know you gave me all this financial advice, but I'm completely throwing it out the window and I'm breaking every single rule and it sucks and it's stupid and I'm an idiot. I don't know, but there's just something I need to figure out here. And when I went, I had nothing, no ideas, no business ideas, none of that. I mean, I sat there and I tried to, conjure up stuff. But it wasn't working, right? But I knew that if there was something out there for me, I'd find it. I wasn't gonna get on a plane until I came home. And we get back to the US and I started working on a few personal projects that somehow found their way into my life. That experience of that wake-up call with my job and my employment really opened my eyes. I started to think about it a spiritual standpoint. And it amazed me because here I was, a guy working hard, working for a company. So I was an employer. And then all of a sudden I just show up one day and they no longer need me. Just don't need me. Like, thanks. But now I learned a lot and I gained some skills. So it's not like I just lost everything. You know what I mean? It wasn't like that. But it really put it into perspective because for the first time in my life, I wasn't in control. Other people were in control for me and controlled my destiny. And now I was thrown into a position where now I have to find control in a way that I've never had to find control in a way because I've never actually gone out and done anything like this. And that's a very scary thing. And it made me think about my faith a lot since I wanted to do this channel about faith. And I kind of like talking about things that you usually don't hear sitting in a pew on a Sunday. I feel there's other ways to kind of get to people instead of just all the traditional boring stuff. Like if you like that, that's great. I'm not saying that's bad, but I think there's a lot of us out there that are curious. And sometimes we see things that we want to explore and go find out for ourselves. And it doesn't make us a bad person, but sometimes we feel a little bit hesitant to because it doesn't align, with the way that it's supposed to be aligned for us or the structure. We don't fall into the structure. And I saw this a lot in organized religion, in institutionalized religion. I think it's a very common thing for people to trust the church when it comes to spiritual matters because they're the experts, they're the ones with advice or the best advice for you. Why? They study it. What I really started to connect the dots on is that it's amazing, and it's in the news all the time about churches having fallouts. And I looked at my life and I was like, you know what? That could be me. I could walk up to a church on a Sunday and all of a sudden it's just doors nailed shut, buildings vacated. And then all of a sudden I'm like, well, what do I do now? Right? Like where do I go? Like, I don't know what to do. And then all of a sudden you're thrown into that situation. I have to start figuring it out. And that's a scary thing. Most people would probably just look for the next church that they could just go and be a part of. It's Sunday. Where are you going to go? It's not there anymore. And I think that happens a lot with the way that we are brought up and educated when it comes to anything that does with religion and like spirituality and stuff, or self-discovery, like trying to figure out who you are. From my employment experience, I was like, you know what? I don't want that to be my life. I don't want to put in time and then all of a sudden wake up one day and show up ready to go to work and then the work's just not there. I don't know if I'm comfortable putting all my faith into a building, into a church, if I just show up one day and all of a sudden like the IRS is there and then it's closed and it's not there anymore. Like what do I do? Where do I go? And it's not to say that church is bad. There's a lot of really good things that come from church. The things that I'm saying aren't about the bad things. It's more about trying to make sure that work on this the most. And I think that is a thing that we're not really taught how to do. And in order to figure out your heart and soul, you have to be willing to go places that nobody else can understand. And you have to be willing to go places I think even the church can't follow or give you advice as far as where to go, because if they can't do it, how can they teach you to do it? Now, there's a lot of people out there that have taught us how to do it. Jesus did. I mean, I think when Jesus was in the desert, I don't think he was like, oh man, it's Sunday, I better get down there and make sure I make the 8 o'clock. I don't know if he was like that. He could have been telling us something that through his mission and how he conducted himself and where he went, it was all about this and that. Working on you, your spirit, your truth, and then also getting a relationship with God. And once you have that, you can walk into any building and they won't be able to take anything away from you. I think I see that way with the church. For a long time, I kind of just trusted the experts until this wake-up call happened. And then all of a sudden I was like, what a crazy wild opportunity to go move to Cambodia with my family. Like what an experience. Even if I lose everything, worth gold in itself. I did something nobody else did. I followed something that was telling me to go, and I went and I did it. And I had the faith that something was going to come out of it. And that's one of the things that you're not going to be able to hear in a pew or in a church or whatever. And it opened my eyes because it's like, man, I discovered so much out there, right? People would have passed that up because they wouldn't be able to go to a church on Sunday where I went. What if Jesus gave us the wisdom to carry with us wherever we go so we don't have to rely on too much other things except for ourself and God and the truth that's between that. And when I thought about that, I was like, well, then it's okay to go. I mean, what would Jesus do? Would Jesus just be like, sorry, I can't go? Like, I need to be here Sunday at 10 o'clock. And the wake-up call I got with work really pushed me in a direction of trying to take some leaps and explore the creative side of things. And that wake-up call with work also made me wake up as far as my own, spirituality goes. I think the lesson of this story is to always have something ready to go. And you do that by starting to take a little bit of time for yourself and working on some things. As dumb as they are, as stupid as they are, sitting down every Saturday, forever how long it takes you to drink a cup of coffee, and to work on something, whatever floats your boat, whether it's a painting, whether it's writing, whether it's a manual, whether it's sharing a way to get through an experience, working on a novel, working on a book, and to really, really start doing that, especially with AI coming on board. Because you know what? In the worst case scenario, if you show up and those doors are closed and the building's vacated, at least you're on a path and you have something. For me, I was the guy who was going to work for a company for the rest of my life and then retire. Well, that changed. It's always been said, you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. That was my plan. Well, it changed. I never wanted it to be my plan, but I was falling into the trap of it. And I think there's a similarity there, faith and how we believe. Like that was a wake-up call to me too, that I need to start trusting my heart and soul and going these places and following these things a little bit. Because guess what? Even if I show up one day and that building's closed, at least I'm on a path to keep going. And I'm not going to be one of the ones that are sitting there going, what's next? Where do I go now? I don't know where to go. Like, what do I do? Do I have to phone a friend? Like, I just don't know how to make this decision. So I think that's the ultimate moral of this story and where I was. And looking at my life now, I had nothing. I've never been good at business. I've never had ideas. Like, I was jealous of the people. Like, how did this entrepreneur think of this idea? Like, give me an idea. I don't have ideas. And I would fight myself to try to think of ideas and to think of these things and to force myself to think of them. And no matter what, just like nothing would ever stick in my mind. And I was the one that rolled the dice. When my wife said, let's go to Cambodia, I literally went to Cambodia with nothing, not one idea. I had internet, computer, and that was it. And I was like, I need to figure out something that can work within these metrics, right? I'm in a foreign country. I don't speak the language, but I just knew that if I at least just went in that direction, and I had the guts to say, you know what, let's go, something was going to come out of it. If you're willing to do the thing that isn't going to give you the money up front, then maybe you'll be able to find something that rewards you later for being able to stick with it and go where you think you're being called to go. And it's the same way with faith. I think if you listen to your faith, your soul, and you try to tune into it a little bit, and it'll never make you a bad person. Like your soul can't make you a bad person. Like, I believe that's just a divine gift from God. It doesn't know evil. It only knows love. It's not gonna guide you to go, rob a bank or something. It just doesn't work like this. Is there to help you. It's like God's gift for like help. It's like, yeah, man, this is your conscience. It's like right here. It's, I want to listen to it. And all those little thoughts you had, maybe they were the right thoughts, but you were just too scared because this keeps tricking you out. You could always go back, right? I could always go to the church. And that's what it's supposed to be for. The church is there for me to go. I'm not there for the church. It's the same thing with working. As long as I know I have the wheels going and I'm working on something, even if it doesn't yield me yet, even if it's just a few sentences a week. But that idea grows, and sometimes those ideas lead to new ideas, and eventually you're gonna whittle out and you're gonna carve something. And that way, when you go to your job, guess what? It doesn't matter if you have it or not, because now at least you have something. And I think we all need to start working on that something, especially with what's coming down the line. I don't know if it's gonna be that bad. I don't know, that could be a wake-up call too. So anyway, I hope maybe you took out a little something from this rambling. I enjoy sharing the way that I see it. Right or wrong, I cannot say that whatever I say is right. All I could do is express my ideas and express my thoughts, and you have a right to do that too, good or bad. But anyway, hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you on the next one, and remember, keep the faith.